He starved to death beside a year's worth of food, and the only man who might explain it walked off the map. Night drizzle coats the lens as a lonely two-lane road coils toward the Sierra, a ribbon of ink under a dying moon. A basketball program flutters under a streetlight in Chico, its corners dog-eared, the date stamped, February 24th, 1978. 5 seats in the stands, 5 voices cheering, 5 plans for tomorrow's Special Olympics game, promises pressed into paper cups and popcorn salt. Register tape spits out snacks, candy bars, milk, pies, the last carefree receipt before the night turns deliberate and strange. A map spreads across a hood like a body sheet. The intended route home is south, but the tire tracks turn north. The Montego's chrome grins in a snowdrift days later, engine uncompromised, undercarriage untouched, as if it tiptoed up the mountain on purpose. Its doors are unlocked, windows intact, and the gas gauge dares you to answer the one question: why leave an operable shelter? Boot prints fade into white, not away from danger, but into it, heading deeper into the woods that one of them despised. Static whispers over a police radio, while pine branches shiver, and the forest folds itself around 5 silhouettes that should be home. They called them the boys. Good hearts, routines, rituals, men who loved order more than chaos and had big plans for morning. A family photo sits on a mantel. Someone's thumb smudges a smiling face, and a mother's voice trembles. He hated the woods. A caption appears over a snow-buried road sign: Plumas National Forest, where the mountain keeps more than it ever gives back. A glove compartment yawns, maps, wrappers, a small flashlight with a dead stare. The car could move, but the story stayed stuck. 4 days pass. The Montego waits like a patient, knowing its drivers have abandoned the obvious answer to an unnamed fear. Dark trees lift like cathedral ribs as a witness clutches his steering wheel, listening to whistles and voices that refuse to materialize. He swears he saw them, a group gathered by a red pickup, a woman clutching a baby, winter breath like smoke signals. He yells, he hears them calling, but the night is a crooked translator. It keeps nouns, hands back riddles. A second account blooms miles away. A clerk swears some of the boys returned, with a red truck as their escort. Police tag the story unreliable, pin it to the bulletin board, and let it yellow, the kind of maybe that gnaws. I follow a fingertip along Highway 70, then the wrong way turn that isn't an accident. This detour asks for intention. Who points a car toward cold and chooses ice over asphalt, when home is a straight line and warmth is a certainty? Snow crystals strobe under a flashlight, and every step toward nowhere costs calories, heat, time. 3 debts that winter collects overnight. A trail marker counts miles like prayer beads, 19.4 from car to salvation, if salvation is what a trailer offered. A Forest Service trailer waits like a forgotten lifeboat. Inside is order, supplies, a switch for heat, and shelves of canned time. An empty bunk, a folded blanket, open sea rations. Someone with a P-38 can opener knew how to whisper to these tins. The can opener suggests training, muscle memory, the kind you learn in the service, the kind Gary Mathias might carry in his hands. On the floor, tennis shoes not on feet, a swap that says one man borrowed another's warmth and left a footprint's promise behind. The coroner's file unfurls, a beard that took weeks to grow, weight fallen away like flakes, frost-bitten feet wrapped in slow pain. 30 inches of air between hunger and abundance. A man fades beside unopened cases, and somewhere in those weeks, hope hushes itself. Propane waits in metal silence, a giant sleeping lung that never warmed the room. Books sit unburned, kindling that never learned flame. Why eat a dozen rations and ignore the pantry's bones? Why take small sips from the ocean and refuse the tap? The forest between car and trailer is a chessboard of choices. 3 bodies fall between squares, scattered like abandoned strategies. Names that used to laugh become coordinates. Madruga, Sterling, Hewitt, found on the line between mechanical safety and imagined safety. One name becomes a theory in running shoes. Mathias. No body, only questions that grow into forests of their own. He needed medication, the stable rhythm of dosage and daylight. The mountain does not keep schedules, only secrets and consequences. The families gather around kitchen tables and coffee that's had too long to think. More than one says, it wasn't voluntary. They repeat it because it feels like a handhold. There was foul play. They were led, chased, or tricked up that road. The Montego's undercarriage, clean as a conscience, murmurs careful driving, not a panicked sprint. Someone shepherded it past stones and ruts. Another map overlays the first. The route to off-route is not an accident. It's a decision interrupted by something unseen. Snowmelt drips like a metronome, counting the weeks Ted Wire lasted, counting the choices not made, the heat not summoned. On the desk, a P-38 unfolds, simple and sharp. In the right hands, it opens meals. In the wrong moment, it opens doubts. Why didn't more food leave its cans? Why did warmth remain a theory? Why does knowledge bow to fear in a locked room? A lodge owner recalls whistles in the dark, matching the witness from the road. Two stories rhyme without touching, like tracks in split snow. The red pickup remains a rumor-shaped object, a color against white, a possibility that refuses to die because it might explain the turn. I listen to the forest as if it keeps audio on loop. Footsteps, calls, then nothing but the hush of ideas cooling. The empty Montego is a lesson they should have followed. Conventional wisdom says stay with the car, but fear edits wisdom. And if someone outside the frame erased certainty with a threat, the logic changes. Distance becomes safety. Deeper becomes further from trouble. But deeper also becomes colder, and cold writes in blunt instruments. It makes brains primitive, weighs down decisions with thick white silence. In the trailer, two realities fight. Careful openings of rations and the untouched bounty, competence and hesitation sharing the same breath. A shoe trade whispers a pact, my feet for yours, my warmth for your speed. Survival's barter leaves names on boots instead of tongues. Was the propane valve simply unknown, or did paranoia make fire a beacon for imagined danger, calling trouble to their only shelter? Outside, branches scrawl on windows like fingernails of weather. Inside, a clock could have worked if anyone wound it and believed time mattered. The road down the mountain glitters with the cruel invitation of hindsight. So close, yet every step carried a price measured in heat. One scene repeats in my mind. The moment they parked, headlights cutting a stage, something ahead or behind deciding their lines for them. If the car stalled in a drift, they could have rocked it, but the chassis is clean, so the stall reads like choice. A choice made by fear, by bad information, or by someone else's hand at the wheel. The night can stack all three. The family's sentences grow teeth. He wouldn't go there, not willingly, and when love says never, we must measure evidence against devotion's memory. I lay out the timeline like crime scene tape. Game, snacks, detour, snow, car, walk, trailer, weeks, bodies, silence. One man unaccounted for. Each link holds, except the why. Why leave the car? Why ignore heat? Why split supplies? Why a red pickup's shadow returns to haunt us? Midway through, my notes betray me. This is not a linear mystery. It's an orbit circling the gravity of one unseen decision. Imagine a wrong turn turns into a dare. The road narrows, and pride whispers it will reconnect just over that ridge. Imagine a stranger waves them on, promises a shortcut, or the illusion of fellowship on a winter road not bred for mercy. Imagine a sound in the trees that city instincts misread, a threat that isn't there, yet big enough to pull 5 lives off course. Or the simplest engine, an anxious mind without its medication, passing fear from seat to seat like a flashlight with failing batteries. But that fails the test of care, the measured driving, the remembered P-38 steps. Panic and precision seldom share the same glove box. I return to the trailer's paradox, living long enough to grow a beard, dying within arm's reach of a year's remission from hunger. In that room, a decision was made every day to not do the obvious. Habit, fear, or a belief that help was coming. If they expected rescue, perhaps fire felt like confession, perhaps darkness felt like camouflage. Perhaps silence was their only argument with whatever followed. And yet, the mountain expects respect, not imagination. It keeps the strong if they act strong, and humbles the careful if they delay. The remains in the woods draw a line on the map that reads like intent, from car toward shelter and invisible guidance. But only one reached the room where time stretched. Did he wait for others, rationing hope and canned hash while snow erased prints? Matthias's shoes sitting lonely whisper a theory, a swap for warmth, a promise to return, a return that never arrived. The red pickup lingers like a chorus. Two witnesses hum the same tune, and investigators turn down the volume for lack of proof. Proof is a jealous thing. It requires bodies or miracles, and one body never shows, leaving possibilities to breed in the dark. A canyon of ice and time separates us from the truth. We mine it with anecdotes, receipts, and the stubborn arithmetic of distance. 19.4 miles through winter is a thesis about will. It is also a confession about miscalculation, hope, and human warmth bleeding away. Even now I tap the P38 against a can that never opened and wonder what belief kept the valve unturned and the books unburned. In one version, they flee a threat and lose a race with the night. In another, they follow a promise and reach a dead end. In all versions, the car watches without judgment, perfect shelter unloved, a mute witness to a choice that still refuses to testify. Snow resumes in my memory, falling backward into the sky, resetting the board, erasing the tracks, daring me to choose the path again. We end where the map breaks. A man vanishes into the timberline, the others return in fragments, and a mountain keeps its veto. If the obvious answers are wrong and the cruel answers feel thin, what quiet truth is still hiding in the space between them?